Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how to play Cypher on Sunset. In my opinion, Sunset is like the Cypher map where you almost always have to pick Cypher just because his setups are so strong on this map. So we're going to start with defense here, and we're going to start with a couple cams and trips that you can do for top mid. So obviously just the standard trip for top mid, you're going to just trip like this to stop them from lurking up. But if you don't want to use your trip here, if you don't want to waste a trip on top mid, what you can do is put this cam right here. You're going to jump on this little wooden platform, and then you're just going to look up, jump, and then put your cam on this roof. And as you can see with this cam, we're able to see all of this information right here on mid. So you don't have to use a trip for it. You just have to tap your cam every now and then you're able to see any lurks. You can also put it right here as well if you want to switch it up a little bit. Put it right here, and then you can actually see into tiles with this cam. So you can use it to catch anybody lurking up top mid if you want it a little bit safer, but you also want to see tiles. Another cam that you can do to get deep information on A main is you want to get on the wooden plank once again, and then aim right here on this rooftop until your cam lights up. So right there. And as you can see with this cam, we're able to see deep into A main. So you can get early info for your team. If you're doing a trap play with maybe like an Omen Paranoia, you can use this cam to set that up with your team. Moving on to the B site, this is where Cypher really shines. This is by far his best site to play on just because he has that one unbreakable trip that's really annoying. So what I like to do is if I'm fighting market, like if I'm playing around here, like they're doing a lot of B splits, maybe they're putting pressure market door, what I like to do is just put a trip right here and play off of it. So you can put trip here, close the door, and then even put a cage here, and then when they break the door, you can play off this trip. Just either peek off your trip from the left, or you can peek off the trip from your right with your cage popped. So the unbreakable trip that is really annoying is this one right here. You're going to put it, I like to put it right up against this line on this box, and you're going to get it as close to the wall as possible. And this trip right here is unbreakable unless they use some sort of utility to break it, like a raise nade or Sova shock dart. In which case, if they start doing that, if they start raise nading your trip or shocking your trip, you can take it back and then just hold on to it and wait for their util to go off and then replace your trip. That's why I like to play around market as Cypher. I like to play around this general area with the door closed, and then I can just play off some spam trips, or I can just sit here and replace my unbreakable trip. The trip that I like to pair with the unbreakable trip if I'm playing from market is this one right here. I just aim on the very left, right at feet level, so it's harder to shoot and it's more unexpected. I just put it right here, and then I just play market and play spam off of this trip right here and the unbreakable trip as well. If you're playing more from backside and you're fighting for the backside area, I always like to put a trip right here. This typically catches a lot of players off guard, especially like jets or raises that like to dash or satchel in. There's a lot of times where jet will just dash straight into this trip, and then you can put a cage right here, pop it off of off your trip, and then you can get a free kill. Okay, to do the one way for B main, there's a lineup from somewhere over here, but I just like to walk up to it until I see like a little lip of the top side, and then I just like to throw it straight up like that. I find that pretty consistent. There is a lineup that you can do from here if you want to learn it, but I find this way is pretty consistent for me. So I just throw it in the middle there, and then now you have a one way, and you can just play backside and pop your one way, peek off it, and get kills like that. For cams on B, this one is pretty standard right here on this window. The reason this is good is because not only can you see into B main, but you can also see into market. So if you don't have a market trip and you still want to get market info on anybody that's coming into market, you can do this cam, and then you're able to spot people coming in. The other cam that you can do is on either one of these trees right here. So you can just put it on the tree right here, and then you can use this for retake. So you just hold on to it, and when they start planning, you can pop it and get info on where they are, and you can tag them as well, and then your market guys can spam off the tags. So if you're fighting for B main and you want to have a player cross into the box here, so typically if you're having a player cross into the box here, you're going to be breaking the Cypher cam for them, and then I like to put a cage here to help them fall back. So I put a deeper cage, and then my box player will be fighting these angles, and then if they ask for it, I can pop the cage and they can cross out. So that's a good way that you can help your box player play. If you're fighting for B main and you're putting like a deep smoke as well, you can also do trips here like that, or you can do a trip deep on the staircase, which can be unexpected. And then if you're just holding this B main space with this smoke, then you can use these two trips to help you. Another trip that sometimes works, but I don't really do this one, but it does work sometimes, is you just literally put a trip like right here, going across like this, and then you just play market for the spam. you just sit here and play for the spam because it's going to get smoked off. And then sometimes people will just like pat this way and hit this trip. It's pretty rare, especially if they're like already breaking util, or they're already breaking your trip with like util, but you can try it out. Okay, so moving on to the A site. I don't really play Cypher too much on the A site, but if we are losing A and my team wants me to swap to A, then these are some setups that I like to do. So you can just do the basic one going across like this, and then you can also do one on the lower section as well, going across like this. And then with these two trips, you can just play for when they're flooding in, use them as kill trips, and you can also put one going across like this anywhere here as well. So you can pick one of these to play spam off A link, or if you want to play spam from CT. So if you want to play spam from CT, you can do either this trip going across like this, and then they'll run into that, and then you can also do one down here as well. So you can do a variety of trips. You can also do one going across like this as well. So these trips right here are really good for playing spam. You can choose one of these, any of these to do, and then just sit here and spam off these trips. If you're playing for a timing peak off elbow, which I like to do if I have somebody holding link for me, I will put a trip right here, right? You can even put it lower. Like, you don't have to put an unjumpable one. In fact, if you put it a little bit lower to the point where it's jumpable, you can just sit here and they might try to jump it, but if they go to break it, you can just swing off a timing and catch a kill here. To help you out even more, you can throw a cage deep, and then while they're breaking this trip, you pop your cage and you can isolate this fight, just in case there's anybody behind them holding for them. If the guy close is walking up and breaking this trip, then you can isolate that fight on him. I don't really like using my cam on A because I'll either use it for top mid if I'm playing A, or I will use it for the one that spots into deep A main. But if I am using a cam to play retake, this is a really good one right here that you can put right on this corner. So you should see it light up for a second there. And then with this cam, you can see the cross right here. Like, you can see if anybody goes into A main, and you can obviously just see elbow with this cam. So if you're playing completely off of sight, you can put this cam right here and just sit on it, whether you're playing spawn or whatever. If you're just playing here waiting for them to come into sight, you can just sit on your cam if you're playing retake A and just get a lot of info with this. One more thing you can do is this little one-way right here. So if you look into this crack on these pipes and throw your cage will get stuck right here, and you can use this cage as a one-way for post plant. Cage trigger. So as you can see, when we pop it here, you can either fight from here, or you can go elbow and use this cage as a one-way. Okay, so now let's go over attack. So for attack, just defaulting, I like to trip both sides of the map, both extremities. So for B, you can either do this bookshelf trip right here. You just aim on the bookshelf and it will go across just like this. Or you can get the one that's right on the doorway, like this. And if you want a perfect trip, you just crouch down, make sure the beam goes in your eyes, and you will get a perfect trip that's not crouchable or jumpable. I prefer to do this one because with this one, it's harder to satchel and updraft over, right? Like, this is kind of like a weird entrance, so when Jets try to updraft, it's very hard to actually get over this trip without setting it off. They have to do pretty much like a perfect updraft, whereas with this trip, it's pretty easy to updraft. So I prefer doing the one on the doorway. And another reason is because with the one on the doorway, if they're pushing up B, it doesn't let them get past this point. But with the bookshelf trip, obviously they can get like all the way up to here, and they can just cut rotates from this angle. So if you're like wanting to work A and then run back to B, then you know, this trip kind of lets them get a lot of space on you. So that's the trips for B side. And then for cams, you're pretty much... Oh, I need to go grab my cam. Okay, so for cams, you're going to put your cam on the window right here. You can put it on either side. You can either put it on this side, or you can put it on the left side here, like this. You can do this before the barrier even drops, and you want to sit on your cam before the barrier drops so it doesn't make any noise. And so when the barrier drops, you're going to be on your cam, and you're going to be able to spot whether or not they cross over to the box, which is why this cam is so good. So if you're going B, you want to make sure you do this cam before barrier drops so that you can get info for your team on whether or not they can cross the box. The cam's also good for spotting out any oppers as well. Moving over to the A site, for trips, you're going to trip either here, or you can trip here, like anywhere along this wall. I prefer to trip a little bit deeper, like either that, or you can do this one. The reason I like to do this is because if they're pushing up A, again, I don't want to give them that much space. If you do the deeper trip, they can move up a little bit more, so I just like to do this one right here, but doesn't really matter, to be honest. You can do it anywhere along this wall. For cams, same thing. You can either do it, you can switch it up and do it on this side, but the common one is you're going to do it on this side right here. It's going to get you the most info, so you're going to cam a little bit higher than that. You're going to cam on this window high like this, and hold it as the barrier drops, and you're going to get info on people, whether or not they're like pushing up to fight a main or not. And if they start pre-firing that cam, you can put it on the other side as well, like this, but this one doesn't get as much info, but you can still pop it before they pre-fire it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, if you're attacking with one trip left in your inventory, like if you're for sure committing A that round, you're going to put one trip on the flank, and then for my second trip, I just like to put it on the flood out, so you can put it like right here on link, or you can put it here and then get a smoke here. You can play in sight off your trip as well, or you can just put it spawn for the run out like this. So a lot of different things you can do with your trip. You can just put it aggressively, and that goes for the same thing on B site. If you still have a trip in your inventory, you can put it out for the market flood, so you can even do this one, right? Or you can put it deep like that, or you can even do this one right here, so when they're flooding out to retake, they might get hit by this trip. And then you can also do like deep trips for Boba as well. If you're fighting Boba, you can do a deep trip like that, and then you can play a crossfire off this trip. And notice how I'm putting these trips low. I like to put my trips low when I'm doing aggressive trips, because if you put your trip low, they have to look down more to break it. And also when you put it low, they might be tempted to jump over it, which you can also utilize just to swing off of. But putting your trips low make it a little bit harder to notice, because if you put like a head level trip like aggressively, it's a little bit easier to shoot for them, because they don't really have to move as far as if you put it like, you know, like on their ankles. So I like to put aggressive trips low. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. That was my basic Cypher guide for Sunset. I hope you enjoyed this video and it helps you out. If it did, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.